What's up, bodybuilding fans? Welcome to Texas Bodybuilding News. I'm your host, Jason Martinez. If you guys new here, make sure you guys give us a follow and subscribe to our channel. Today's segment on 101 with Dr. Maria Tello we have here. She's an NFF Bikini Pro. So we just kind of brought her in here. I wanted to tell her story about how she got into the industry, how she got into the bodybuilding, and actually started to compete. So let's kind of start by giving a little introduction about yourself.
Okay. Thanks for having me. This is always, a fun time to talk about fitness with like-minded individuals. So, yeah, my name is Maria Tello, and I have been competing now for about 4 years. I started really late in life, and that's not unheard of in the bodybuilding world, which is one of the reasons why I really like the sport because I started when I was 46, got my pro card at 47, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. Like I have another outlet for my passion of being active.
And was it something that you've always been in the industry? Like, did you play sports? Were you athletic before?
Mhm.
How did
Yeah,
feel about that?
so I've always been an athlete. When I was in high school, I did all sports, whatever sports they had, I did, but my favorite ones were track and cross country. That was my specialty. And then when I went to college, I also ran track for about a year there this was at Texas A&I University, Kingsville. And then I loved weightlifting. I've always been a real thin, just petite person genetically, and weightlifting kind of gave me a little bit more shape. And so I've always liked it, but I never saw myself competing. That was not something that I ever thought about. However, I would look up to the athletes that I would see in magazines, and I would think, wow, this is the body I would like to shape, but they're at another level. That's not something that I can do. So, so yeah, my background is an athletic background, but I've always used it kind of as an outlet. It's always been fun. But it wasn't until after my son was born and I started to feel like age was catching up to me a little bit. And I went to my local gym. I live in Monte Alto, so this was in Elsa that I went to the local gym there.
What year was this about?
And this was in 2000. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. Six, maybe 8 years ago.
Okay,
What does that make it?
so we're
2022 minus 8.
it's 2014.
So in 2014 then,
15.
I
How old were you then?
I'm 50 right now.
Whoa.
So
So then that's when
so
you really started to really hit the weights more then, because you're saying
not
after.
yet,
Okay,
not yet.
okay.
That's when I joined the gym and I thought, let me try this out. This is maybe about a couple years after I had moved to Monte Alto, so I was slowly starting to see what the little town had to offer. And so I went to the gym with one of my neighbors, and the goal was just be active. That was the goal. And we were super busy like everybody else is, so we said let's go and get our workout in at 5 in the morning. And so I knew what I was doing because I've done weightlifting before. But the second day that we were there, this guy approached us and he said, hey, if you guys are interested, I'm a trainer. And we talked about it and we said, well, let's make it so that we're more accountable to somebody. So he said, sure, go ahead and train us. Well, little did I know that this guy, Frank Rodriguez, was going to become my longtime trainer. And then every time that we would train, I would just get more into it and I wanted to lift heavier and I really liked it. And so he started seeing that I really, really liked it. It wasn't just a let's get healthy thing. So he said, why don't you compete? And then some of the people around me would say, hey, do you compete? And I was like, no, but why are you saying that? Do I look good? And just the idea started kind of taking a little bit of shape there. And then I reached out to Candace Fox, and she introduced me to a natural organization where I could compete with other natural athletes. And I thought, wow, you know what? I'm going to do it. And so I was 47. This was 2018 when I first competed in my first show. And then I was hooked. I mean, yeah, it was just so fun.
But what did you do way before that? Like, I mean, how did you stay active before you hit the gym, or you just were active in a sense of just like,
Oh, no.
or you?
I liked running because
Okay, so
my background is running. So I liked running and weightlifting. I would do racquetball as well, which
Okay.
is a killer cardio workout. But running and weightlifting were the two activities that I really liked. But you name it. I mean, bike riding with the family, kayaking, you name it. I just liked
So
being
you stayed active,
yeah.
but when you went to that gym in Elsa, that's when you actually got into the lifting more into the bodybuilding style, right?
Yes, the bodybuilding style is when you're trying to shape your body. It's an art,
Yeah.
right? And you're the artist. You lift a certain way in order to shape the muscle the way you want it to look and grow it, right? So that you create that shape that you want. So it bodybuilding was something that happened after I joined that gym, and I started to get really serious about lifting heavier, and then I started to see results. And I would always tell everybody, listen, I'm going to do this weightlifting thing, but don't make me eat differently because I want to eat how I want to eat. I'm just going to stay healthy by doing the bodybuilding thing. But then I started thinking, why am I working so hard and spinning my wheels, working out this hard and with so much passion if I'm not going to couple it with a good diet that's going to make me get to my goal faster, right?
Right.
I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm strong, but I don't see the shape and the lines like I really want to. So at that point, I thought I owe it to myself to give a diet a try. I've never dieted in my life, so the word diet had a very negative connotation. I didn't want to have to feel like I was restricting myself. But when I started making the small changes to my diet and started seeing results in my body, at that point I was like, okay, diet is the key. I mean, bodybuilding is definitely a big part of it, but diet gets you there so much
So what were
faster.
you doing before? Like, how were you eating before then? You know?
I would say just like a normal diet. I've never really liked overindulging, but I wouldn't say no to sweets and I wouldn't say no to a burger. I mean, if and I didn't know enough to know that I wasn't eating very healthy. I didn't know enough. So if I had a burger, I never questioned that my meat was 80/20 or 93/7. That wasn't something that I knew about. So this has just been like a recent, and when I say recent, I mean like in the last, 6, 7 years that I've been learning about diet. But before it was just a normal person diet, just a balanced diet. I liked healthy food like vegetables,
So
but
you mean like okay, now I gotta go portion wise, now I gotta
correct,
certain foods and stuff. That's when you
correct.
started going into that. And who helped you
Yeah.
with that in the beginning?
Okay, so I remember always, I like doing research online, just like I did in the past where I was reading magazines. And I remember that I started to learn a little bit about macros and I got interested in that. And when I met Candace, she does diet through macro
Yeah.
counting. And so she taught me through an app how to log my food and what it meant, to hit certain numbers and so once she introduced me to that, I started doing even deeper research. So I've always wanted to kind of be in control. Like, why am I doing this? Not just because somebody tells me, but why, right? So I started doing more research and finding out the importance of what each macronutrient does for the body. So, but it was Candace that introduced me to macros.
So you were
Yeah.
doing more the flexible type of dieting,
Yes.
So she just
Yes.
told you your macros, and then you kind of just pick your protein source you want, your carbs versus your fats, and kind of put it into the app, and that's
Correct. Correct. So the app kind of brought to light that I was eating a little bit too many fats and too many carbs and not enough protein, which is something that a lot of people think that maybe they say, well, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person. Like my husband doesn't eat nearly enough protein. You think you do, but actually it's one of the macronutrients that we get very little
I
of.
think most average Americans don't have enough protein.
No.
And every time I get a new client, I always see their diet and they're like way under protein, way under protein.
For sure.
And I think that's where once you introduce a protein, then you're stimulating the muscle by weight training. That's where you're saying the muscle development started coming.
Mhm.
So what was some of the stuff that you started noticing first? What your body reacted where? Like your legs, your arms,
So
shoulders?
for sure my upper body because I've always been able to see the quickest results in my arms in my upper body and once I started seeing lines and veins, I mean for a bodybuilder that's like awesome, right? It's like a new vein. You tell everybody about it. Like, can you see this vein? It just popped out and so yeah, so I think it was my arms, my biceps, I got like to the point where Frank had to hold me back from working on biceps because he said they were just going to overpower my frame. Because that was like my favorite part. And because you see change in that part, you almost overdo it because
Yeah.
you love it so much. And then my legs were the last things. And it wasn't because I held fat in my legs. It was just because genetically they don't grow muscle as easily as my upper body. So I had to get into a program where I was doing legs 2 or 3 times a week just to be able to see the right amount
And
of
you said
change.
it was 2018 when you
Yes.
started prepping with the candidates for your first show?
Yes. Hmm.
And how long was your prep for that one?
My prep was no. It was 20 weeks.
Yeah.
And I actually went to her in December, right before the holidays, which looking back now, I think, wow, my very first show, my very first prep, and I went all in before the holidays even, and I started this. Um, and I was just so excited. I didn't care. I just wanted to do it. And my first show was in April. So I started prepping in December. Hmm. So it takes a while. When you're doing body or fat loss the right way, it takes a while. It is not, there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. And so fat loss is a very slow, steady process, right?
Sure. Very correct. I mean, ideally 1 or 2 pounds, a
Yeah.
week.
Yes,
Even
correct.
two is pushing it sometimes.
Hmm.
So when you brought this into your husband, like this is what I want to try, how was the take on that?
He's super supportive. I told him, I said, I've been thinking about this, but I'm not sure. And then that turned into, I'm really considering this because I feel like I'm starting to look a little bit better. And then that turned into, when I walk in the gym, I feel like I'm super excited and I want to take this to the next level. And then once I did, he said, I mean, you're already going to the gym. You're already eating the right way. May as well just try it. And so I did. And he was supportive the whole way. Mhm. So it was a fun family experience to go through prep together.
Okay. So your first prep, 20 weeks,
Hmm?
what would you say was one of the hardest things to adjusting to that, if it was anything?
Mhm.
And what was the most, I guess, easy part or fun part about it?
Uh-huh. Okay, so my first prep, and maybe some other bodybuilders might be able to relate to this, but my first prep, I was so darn excited about it that nothing was hard. until the last 2 weeks where I felt really depleted and I felt like I was tired and I just wanted to step on stage already. The last 2 weeks, because my excitement carried me through. I remember that when I would meet Frank at the gym for training, he would say, this is the most chill prep I've ever seen anybody on. You never complain, you never and I think part of it was because I was doing it the first time and there was the excitement. But the other part was because I was doing the macro counting, I was able to throw in some things, some treats like I mean, maybe, and I'm not talking about like a month before show. I'm talking about like maybe 12 weeks out where you still have time. I might be able to throw in an oatmeal raisin cookie, and that would get me through. I was like, oh, okay, this was awesome, and now I can do another couple of weeks before I feel like I'm really needing something sweet, because that's the hard part for me, the sweet.
That's all I was gonna say because I know you mentioned that. And I was
Yeah,
like, but with a flexible diet, the way you did it, I mean, you
it
kind of
helped.
explained why you did
It
that,
helped.
because I know most other diets, prep diets, don't do that.
Right. They're a lot stricter. And of course, that brings me to when I met you and I traded the macro diet for a meal plan where I'm following more of a set meal plan where I know how many ounces of protein, carbs, and fats that I'm supposed to get. Um, and I'm sticking to that without having anything else coming into my body. The mental part of that struggle is hard. It is so hard. Especially when you start to hear people telling you things like, I mean, you look great already. What's one cookie gonna do? It's not gonna hurt your progress. And they don't realize that at that level, of fitness, it does hurt your progress. It isn't just I'm healthy anymore. It's more like I am an athlete now. It's not a normal person way of eating. And I'm only doing this for a certain amount of time. So if I can just get through this certain amount of time, then I can go back to being flexible again, right? But that was the hardest part was that not being able to have any kind of diversity. And then I think that when you do shows back to back, like I have done in the past, it gets really tough on the body because you're tired, you're already depleted from a previous show, and then you're starting another prep right away, and you feel like, wait, what? I don't even get a break. So my body mentally, it's not even physically at that point anymore. It's more mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, more mental. I still have another 10 weeks to go or however many weeks, right? But the doing shows back to back is very hard mentally. And I really applaud anybody that's able to do that because it takes a lot.
And so for your first show, 2018, it was the NFF. That's a natural organization,
Yes.
by the way. It's here in Texas. When you did the show, being on stage, being in a bikini, presenting yourself, how was that? Was it overwhelming? Was it you just went with it, or
Well, when I saw the bikini, I was in shock
that's what I'm saying.
because it's tiny. And because I'm a little bit of a more petite person, the lady that made my bikini, because it's not a store-bought bikini, right? We need to
It's customized.
It's custom made, right? And she said, you're so petite that we need to really show off the glutes. And so literally the back piece of the bikini is a little triangle. So I told my husband, okay, look, it's going to be okay because I'm not the only one wearing a teeny tiny bikini. And so I'm just going to fit in like all the other girls. If it was just me up there, obviously there would be like a lot of discomfort. Maybe I'd feel embarrassed, but I didn't feel embarrassed because everybody was wearing the same type of suit. But yeah, that was kind of a funny experience when you see how little everything is.
Posing, how was it posing? And I know that's something different to do. So how long did you practice your posing for that?
Okay, so they say you're supposed to pose like starting from the time you start prep, right? They say. But honestly, yeah, posing was just not like my favorite thing to do. And so I would wait until a month before the show. But then once that month point came, it was like I was very dedicated and I would pose every night. So every night after my workout and after my dinner, um, I would pose and I would say maybe about 30-minute sessions. So, and then the other thing that helped was that when you were coaching me, the coming here on Saturdays and posing forced you to have to practice the routine. And it also forced you to be okay with wearing a small bikini when there's other people around. It kind of made you just zone in and focus on what you're doing. You focus on the craft. And but yeah, the posing is hard just because you have to hold poses that are not very natural, and you have to hold them for a minute, because you never know how many times the judges are going to have you turn around for comparisons, how many times they're going to want to maybe hold a certain position so that they can be calculating how the differences between the athletes. So you have to be ready for that. So
And
yeah.
what was the name of the show?
My first show was called, hold on. It was in San Antonio, and I believe it was
The Showdown? Or Don't
the
Start?
showdown.
Showdown?
Yeah, the
Showdown.
showdown. Yes.
And did you just do what class did you do?
I did the my division is bikini, but within bikini they have different categories. And so I did the novice. It was my very first time, so I did novice. I did the open, and I did masters.
Okay.
So my very first show, I'm trying to remember how I did because it's been several shows and sometimes I get them mixed up, but I did well. I remember, I think I got third place in my very first show in open. And novice, I believe I got maybe second place. And then masters, I got first. So I did fairly well. And then that I did two shows my first year. And then the following year, I did another two shows. And that's when I got my pro card the following year.
So that one you did, and then after that, when did we start training together? Was it after that show, or you still did another one with Candace?
I I did one show with Candace, and then about halfway through the second prep, I went ahead and I met you and I switched
Okay,
over to
that's right.
you, and we did the second show. So I've done from my second show on together. Yeah,
Okay.
with you.
Yeah, and so after you stepped on stage, were you thinking, okay, bucket list,
No.
or you're like, I want to do another one?
Yeah. Yeah, it was not something I felt, not something that I had put in all that effort for just one show. I just felt like, no, like even in one show a year seemed too little, because I felt like I've been on prep for a long time now, almost half a year here, and I'm just going to do one show. Like, I don't know. So I thought I'm going to do a second show. So I did my first show was in April, my second show was in November, and so I had a little bit of a break in between. I was able to kind of have some of my favorite meals and then went back on prep for the November show. So yeah, it was not a bucket list. No, I don't think I ever saw it that way.
Yeah, because most people like that's why when I get a new client that's gonna do the show, like most of the time I tell them, look, you're either gonna love it or hate it. You know, so you're either gonna bucket list, I did it, I'm done, I don't want to prep no more, I don't want to
True.
eat fish no more, I don't want, or some people that you get addicted to it and you want to do another one, especially when you know like, well, I can push a little harder and I want to get that first place, so I want to really push it harder.
Yeah.
So how did you handle? Because I don't even think we talked. Like, how did you handle the transition from, like you said, from the macros, flexible dieting to my type of dieting? How long did it take you to adjust, mentally, through that process?
I think my style of adjusting is at first I start in really gung ho and excited, and that gets me through the first few weeks. And then towards the end of prep, and I would say maybe the last month, it starts getting really tough. So I didn't feel like I had a hard time at the beginning just because I was excited. I had a new coach. I'm trying this new way of eating. Let's see how it goes, right? So that excitement propels you. But then probably a month before the show, and you're looking at the same foods over and over and thinking like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I would say that that was tough. How did I handle it? um I would allow myself jello. So I know that this is kind of like little hacks, right? What can I do to mentally help myself get through this? So I'm a sweet tooth. I have a sweet tooth. What can I do? I can no longer eat the flexible diet way. Okay, so then I would have a jello. Jello has like practically zero everything, 0 calorie jello, right? And that gave me that sensation of eating something sweet. And just kind of, I guess I would just have to ask myself, I mean, this is something I want to do, right? Nobody's pushing this on me. So let's just do it. I mean, I'm already here, right? I'm a month away. And the excitement of seeing the body changing, I think also helps to make it feel like you're doing well. And then I would say about 2 weeks before the show, you had me eating fish every day. Fish every day. And that's when I was like,
That's it all the way, right? We had to change it, or we did it all the way.
it's all the way. So it was all the way. 2 weeks. Because my husband would say,
Again?
like he was really feeling sorry for me. And I was like, yeah, I only get breakfast and all my other meals are fish. But look at my abs, you know? So, but that was tough. That was the hardest part, I think, is that, yeah, I mean, who eats that way, right? But when you have a goal and you have the mentality that you will not give up, then I mean you just do it.
I think that the way I see it is that when you're so consistent that way, where your body knows what's coming in, what's coming out, I mean, calories in, calories out, and it's specific nutrients, certain microbes, that's it. I think your body just reacts differently when one is you can eat something in a macro flexible, and you might be different throughout the day, that sometimes you get bloated or sometimes something happens reaction, but you don't know which one it was, you know. So I think when you're so consistent that way, you know your body, like, okay, I was getting bloated, and then we introduce something different, and you sense it, and then you're like, okay, you know what, I can't eat that, get that away. So but I know, I mean, it's a mental game to be strict that way, but that's how I see it, because sometimes if we do the macros and flexible, the willpower, when you can have a little bit of something, some people go more, because they're getting it. So when you don't get it, and you don't taste it, you don't get it,
Hmm.
you just don't
Hmm.
get more. You know what I mean? Like like if I
Yeah.
would tell you, okay, we'll have this,
And that might make me cycle out of
yeah,
control. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe knowing the client also is important, right? Because there are some clients that I'm absolutely sure that that'll happen to. And then there's some clients that are strict with themselves. So I knew, like, why would I do that to myself, right? So it's just going to be cheating my own hard work. But there are times when you just have to push through, because the sport is not all about the physical, it's about the mental.
yeah.
And I'm so glad that I went through all those experiences, because I feel like if I can do that, then I can handle a lot of things where I have to be mentally strong, because saying no to food is one of the hardest things that you can do. Saying no to food when it's easily available to you. And so, and knowing that nobody is looking, it's just you, and you have to decide whether you want to eat that or not. It's hard.
How did you handle like family activities or going out somewhere or attending, a family function, so that how did you handle something like that during prep?
Mhm. So that's tough too. You definitely want to make sure your family is aware of what you're doing, and sometimes family is aware, but they don't understand all the intricacies of why. I remember going to my mother-in-law's, and she would say, "Oh, I made you some vegetables, and they're healthy." And I would say, "I know they're healthy, but they're not in my plan. So I've already got all the vegetables I'm gonna eat for the day." Planned out, so that would be extra, and even extra vegetables is going to add to my numbers, so I can't. So it's hard for some people that don't understand what that means, so it is definitely tough, but you want to make sure that you also find a balance. Like, for instance, with my family, I always told them, this is my choice. It should not affect you guys. So if you all want to go somewhere, right? Go eat somewhere. Let's go. I'll take my food. Or I'll eat in the vehicle, I'll eat in the truck, and that way I've already had my meal, and then we'll go in the restaurant and I'll just sit and talk with you guys. And that's what we would do. I never kept them from going places because of me. We would go wherever they wanted. Um, and that was hard, but not as hard as I thought it was going to be, because I just enjoyed the fact that we could have this balance. So they felt like they weren't missing out on things, right? And then, but other functions were tough. For instance, weddings, parties, that was the toughest thing, because you sometimes have to pretend that you're part of it. And food is like one of the things that brings us together. So if you don't eat, it's almost rude, right?
Yeah.
So I remember my sister-in-law gave me a piece of advice, and she said, serve yourself a little bit. And you just kind of, in conversation, you just kind of move your food around a little bit to show that you got some, and then they don't feel bad. And then you're part of the group. And I thought, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." So I would do little things like that too. But it is hard. It's
Well, that's a good advice. I never did that. I literally would take my food everywhere. I would take my food no matter what event it was, but everybody knew not to offer me anything. And I would be eating my food. Everybody eating their food. Pretty good idea. Just to kind of get a little bit like you are gonna eat it, but don't eat it. Yeah,
and it worked, because nobody's actually
yeah.
what you're eating, how much you're eating. And it made him feel like I was part of the group, and I felt like I wasn't being rude. So I thought that was a pretty ingenious hack. But I would have to eat before. That was something that I felt that was another little trick, because if you go to a party hungry and you're seeing everybody around you eat, that is really tough. So you have to kind of time everything, eat first so that you don't feel like you're ravenous and smelling.
Because then if you're hungry, if you didn't bring your meal, and you're starving at that point, you will grab something. You will.
For sure, for
So
sure.
that show was November of 2018. What show
Yes.
was that? Was that
That one was the was
was it with the P, the Poseidon, or was it the
no, I've never done
Showdown?
the Poseidon,
No.
the show. It was
Which
the
one was it?
showdown.
The Showdown?
It was the showdown, yes.
And how do we do there? I don't recall. I
So
remember.
at the showdown, I believe I got third.
Mhm.
I got third.
And
Or
open.
second. I got third in open, yes. And then in masters, I really should write all this down, because I have a hard time remembering every single show my placement. But in masters, I've always done better in masters. That category. Okay, so maybe we should explain, right? Like, open
Well,
is
true.
for
Yeah.
all ages,
Yeah.
right? So I might be against somebody who's in their 20s while I was in my late 40s. And even though, I hate to admit it, but age, shows a little distinction sometimes. So in masters, you're with a group of people that might be in their 40s as well.
Correct.
So I always did better in my group, right? My category. And then the open, I think I got third in that particular show in the open. Um, So, and then novice, I don't remember because I did novice that first year. I did novice both
Yeah, I mean,
times.
I have it written down on the website and everything. I just don't recall right now place because I remember it was the second show where we said you got your the pro card, right? So 2019.
Correct. So in 2019, we did the show in Bastrop, and that one was called the Muscle Mayhem.
Muscle Mayhem.
Yes.
Right.
And at that show, I got my pro card in the Masters category. So I'm not sure how it works in other federations, but in NFF, when you get your pro card, they don't distinguish whether you got it in a Masters category or open. It's actually just you got your pro card in bikini, and that that's how they say it. That's what you're categorized, right, as a pro. So, but I did get it in the Masters category.
Yes. And how was that? How because I knew you were shooting for that. That was one of your goals that you wanted to do. You know. So when you got your pro card at that show, how was it?
Like, how did I
How did
feel?
you feel? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really unbelievable experience. I felt really humbled, like I couldn't believe it, and I just felt like I was very new to the sport. I mean, I had just done it a year, and I felt like anything was possible because I was 47, a mom, and I've been doing it just for a year, like the competing, not the working out, obviously, the competing for about a year. So I just felt like really blessed, excited to have been able to get my pro card as soon as I did, I think. And I felt proud of myself. I remember calling you and I was just kind of timid in saying it, like I got my pro card. I'm so excited about it. But it was a really nice feeling to share it with my family and just to know that that was something that I was able to accomplish, because that's the goal. I think when you do bodybuilding is if you want to reach that highest pinnacle of that particular sport in your federation, it's to get your pro card. So once I got that, I felt like, wow, this is now going to be even more exciting, because now I'm competing against other pros and not amateurs, and so they look like they're pros, right? And so I think getting my pro card also made me a little afraid, because I felt like, okay, now we really got to work hard. Like,
So right away you said, okay, now I still want to compete. Now I'm going to compete in the pro. So the door wasn't even closed yet. You didn't. No, you still wanted more.
For sure, because why would you get a pro card and then not compete as a pro? That would, yeah. So at that point, I was like, okay, so this was where are we? 2018?
2019.
2019, and then that's when COVID hit. Okay,
2019.
the end of 2019. So I did two shows or one.
2019. We did
2019, I did how many shows?
we did the two because I know you got your because when was this? 2020?
This one was in 2021.
2021.
Yes,
Okay, after
this
COVID.
was just last. Yes,
Okay, so
because I took all
2019.
of 2020 off
Yeah.
because of COVID. They kept canceling shows, so it was just
So then we did your pro debut, right? On 2019.
pro debut must
Was
have
it?
been in 2019 then,
Yeah.
because I don't think I've ever done just one show per
Yeah.
year. I don't think so. I think I've always done two or more. So, but it wasn't, let me tell you, it wasn't until 2021, which was last year, that I really felt like I came in with a pro package, because it takes a while to
Yeah.
build your body, right? Naturally, it's just not going to happen overnight. So in 2019, when I got my pro card and then I competed again, I felt good, but I didn't feel like I went in with the right mentality of like, I'm a pro, I've got this. It wasn't until 2021 when I'm like, I'm here to play. I wanna see how I compare with other people.
What was some of the feedback that we got from the judges that you needed to work on?
So my feedback has always been the same. It's always been, you need to grow the glutes. And even though I always feel like my legs are the issue because I need bigger quads, they've never actually said that. I think in the bikini category, especially maybe now with shape and wellness, the bikini look is a lot leaner. And so I'm a better fit now that they have the other category for girls that have the bigger quads, right? So that the quads have never been a weakness. It's more the glutes, grow the glutes. And so that's been my focus now for a few years.
And when COVID hit, before it hit, because it was around the beginning of the year, you decided to take that year off? I don't recall.
I didn't
Or it
want
was because COVID hit.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I was actually gonna do a show, and then they canceled. I was gonna do the April show. They canceled it. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? Let's just take the year off and continue to grow. And then at that point, the gyms were closing. And so that was adding another element of difficulty, right? So my neighbor and I, we pitched in and we bought ourselves some equipment. And remember that was when equipment was really scarce. I don't know if you felt it because you already had your gym, but for anybody that was trying to build a home gym, boy, you couldn't get a dumbbell for you to save your life. Nowhere. So we tried our best, and that 2020 year, I worked out at a home gym, and unbelievably, I saw so much growth because I had a little bit to work with, but I had to get super creative. And I think that kind of helped to make me feel like going back to the basics and no frill work. It was just back to the basics, good old fashioned kind of exercises. So I saw a lot of growth, even though I was working in a home gym.
Yeah, and then it was back. When did you go back with Frank and start training Frank? Or were you training at your place still
I
with Frank?
was training partially with Frank because he was starting to get things as well.
His little trip.
So yes, so I was training with Frank maybe a couple of days out of the week, and then the rest of the time at home.
At home.
Yes. So and just we really couldn't go anywhere. There were lockdown, all kinds of things came into play, right? But I was still training with Frank about twice a week.
Yeah.
And then okay, so then after 2020,
2021 came around.
yeah, and then the gym started opening up. So at this point, I did a mixture. I was doing home workouts because I really had gotten into a routine that I enjoyed at home. And I had the space, we had more equipment, and then I was going to a gym and I was training with Frank. So I kind of hopped around and got a little bit of everything. So that was 2021. And in 2021, we did 3 shows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 shows. That's been the most recent. And the first show was the Super Show.
Your pro show.
And yes, and that Super Show, I felt like I went in very ready. I felt really excited about that show. And I in that show in the open, I got second.
Bodybuilding, we got second place on that one. And then that's when you heard about that new organization, coming around.
Right. So Candace, again, I never lost communication with Candace, because she's knowledgeable as well, and she posts about her clients. So I've always had her on social media, and she um really wanted to bring another organization down to the valley. And so wanting to support that show, and also in wanting to do a show locally because it's so much more convenient than traveling to one. I did IFBB right? So that federation is an international federation, and it's not as well known, but it's kind of
it's well known international.
It's very well known internationally.
It's new here in the States.
Not as well known here. Correct. Yes. Because you're right. It is very well known internationally. So at her show, I got first place, and I got the overall competitor for the women. And because of that, I got a free trip to compete in Florida at the Florida Miami Pre. And that was with other like countries. So that was an international show. And that was an eye opening experience because there's people from everywhere and speaking different languages. And they had um, coaches and
Big teams.
big teams that had trainers there and you name it. Like they had a whole team set up. And so that was a really fun experience too. Just being able to say that you're competing with Team USA was a really just a big honor. And so at that show, I got fourth in the what in the open, and in masters, believe it or not, my category I got six because their masters women are just unbelievable. Like yeah, they certainly don't look masters. Yeah. I mean, sometimes muscle maturity is going to count so much more than what you would think like, well, but they're older.
Yeah.
They're not going to be much competition. Oh no.
But because I guess a lot of them too is how many years have they been competing? I mean, they've been
Correct.
competing for a good while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the show you did here was like a regional show. So you were flown, which was cool. They flew you to Florida,
Yes.
part of USA, and then that was their pro show, right? That's when you would get your pro card if you
Yes.
win.
Yes.
But what they do is they invite international competitors to come also
Correct.
compete for that pro show, pro card.
Yes.
So
And
it's a big,
they
very
had
big
good
show.
teams. It was a team from Mexico, a team from I believe it was Ecuador, a team from they did not have any overseas teams, but I know that it's a common thing in those shows because
I think because it's closer
it's closer,
for us, the
right?
South America.
So all of South America, all of those countries brought in teams, and some of those teams were huge, some of them were a little smaller, but it was just a fantastic experience. Like I've never even been to a show, an international show, so that was just amazing. And I remember feeling, I mean, truth be told, I remember feeling a little out of my league because some of these girls, I mean, they're traveling from way down in South America and they will travel anywhere. So traveling for me had recently just meant going up to San Antonio, going to Houston, but it's somewhat local, right? In the same state. And these girls were traveling to another country. So they were, in every sense of the word, professional athletes. And so that was an eye opener for me. For sure.
Like I said, it's very known international. It's for the pro, what's called IVB Elite, and it's big in the European area. And very once in a while we get some of those that actually transition to the IVB. But yeah, it's a very big. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When I first heard about it, I was like, I don't know about this. I know about IVB Elite, but that's what was interesting that you went to compete against in some international, which is
Mhm.
like you said, no joke. It was not a
Mhm.
joke. It was
No joke.
it is a
And
show.
the other thing is that you have to learn, every organization is different, so they have different guidelines. You have to learn a different posing routine. Sometimes they require a different front pose or a different way to pose with your arms a certain way. And so you have to learn all of that, requirements for shoes, all of that makes a difference. And I remember a lot of the girls had a particular type of bikini that looked different from our bikinis. And I asked him, where do you get those? I've never seen those. It's not an option where I get my customized bikini. And they said, oh, we order these in from Russia. So just from that comment, I knew, okay, these girls are true professionals. They're even ordering their bikinis from
Another country.
another country, right? Not just a shop down the road, but another country. And I just felt like very humbled by that, but also very excited to have been a part of that for sure. Hmm.
That is an experience. So 2022, what were we doing now?
So in 2022, I am currently working out to grow. It's my off season. I chose not to compete at all this year. In 2021, I did 3 shows back to back. I had never done that. And mentally, I felt fatigued. Um, Not physically so much, but mentally, I felt like, okay, this is good enough for me for a while. I'm just going to enjoy time with my family in the summertime, because typically I'm on prep in the summertime. So even though I'll go anywhere with them, it is restrictive for me. And I have to be able to be okay with that. And I didn't want to have to this summer. So I'm working out consistently. As far as my diet, I'm eating the right amount of protein, but I won't say no to a cookie.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And I feel like mentally I have healed from having to put in all that time and mental effort. So yeah, you do have to kind of take some time off to grow and also to reset, right? So I feel like that's what I'm doing now. I'm resetting. What 2023 is going to bring, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that I'll go back to competing. I see, the pictures right now and I feel excited for the athletes, but I haven't felt the need to start getting on a competition prep. Not yet. I feel like I really want to take the year to just try to lift heavy and grow, and then in 2023 we'll see at that point.
I think that you make a good point because I think a lot of people they jump right away,
Mhm.
to do like you're saying, so many shows, and one is they're not getting the feedback from the judges and trying to improve for one. Two is they're burnt out, but they're still pushing it. The body's not going to react the same sometimes. Being on prep that hard that long, I mean, it does dismantle to the body itself. So you got to make, like you said, you got to reset. And the final one that you said, I think is you need to be mentally ready.
Correct.
Mentally, like that you can dedicate that time because I've had clients where they start and things happen, but they're not mentally there, and
Hmm.
it throws you off with the prep. So you have to be mentally ready for that.
Yep.
You do.
For sure. And you know yourself. I mean, you know when you're ready. And now that I've done prep, a few times, I know what it takes. So I know whether or not I'm ready to put in that kind of effort and to be that restricted. And then during the off season too, it's a time to also kind of reflect and figure out, like, okay, where am I in this sport? Do I want to keep doing this? And do I still have that same drive? And I feel one of the benefits, especially in the national federations, is that you can compete until you're older, and you still have a shot because they have all those categories. So I'm 50 right now. If I compete next year, I'll be 51, and that isn't something that makes me think twice. I feel like I can still be competitive, right? Um, so yeah, it's a chance to reflect and figure out where you want to take this. Is it something where you feel like you're still getting joy out of it, right? And if the answer is yes, then you keep doing it, right? As long as it's something that is bringing you joy and not something that you feel is a chore. Once it starts to feel like a chore, just get out,
Yeah,
because
I
that's
agree. I
yeah.
agree. Like if you don't have that burning sensation, the drive to keep going hard in the gym, keep the prep going, like yeah, if it's not fun no more, like don't do it. Because if it's not fun, it's not worth you putting your body through all of that.
No.
Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, I know it's work, but it should be fun that
Yeah.
you want to do it.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes. For
So
sure.
what advice would you give somebody, they come to you and say, oh, I want to do a show, I want to do something, but I have a full-time job or I have kids or, because somebody always, I don't want to make sound mean, but they always come up with an excuse first. But you're a professor, you have a family, you have a child, so you learn how to balance all that. So when somebody tells you that, what's your response to that?
My response is you have to be ultra organized. And if you really want to do it, you can do it. I mean, just like anything else, right? If there's a will, there's going to be a way for you to accomplish it. And being organized with your meals, cooking ahead of time. So take the weekend or a Sunday to cook all of your meals for the following week so that they're all packed and ready to go in the refrigerator. You want to open the fridge and know what the next meal is going to be. You don't want to have to consider what you're going to eat, or you don't want to have to go through the process of, I still have to defrost the meat before I can cook the meat. You're already exhausted as it is, and you don't want to have all that pressure on you. So that organization is going to be key. And know that there's different components to being on prep. There's the cardio component. You have to have, however much time your coach tells you. If that's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or an hour, I mean, you've got to be able to have that. And then when you get closer to shows, sometimes you might have to do cardio twice a day. It just depends how your body's progressing. So you never know. You've got to have that. Then the working out component. My workouts are about an hour and 15 minutes, more or less, from start to finish. There's posing. The posing usually takes me about 30 minutes. Then, some athletes do this, some don't. But if you do want to get like a base tan, just to kind of go in with a little bit of a darker skin tone, you have to have time to get a tan. You have to make time to maybe, even go get a massage because your body's going to be worn out. So all of this takes organization and planning. So be okay with getting up early, be okay with going to bed late, and you'll be able to do it. I mean, if you plan your day, I know I would get up sometimes at 5 in the morning. I would do cardio. My least favorite thing to do is getting up early. If I could just switch when I could do things, because I didn't have a family, I would do everything later on in the day, but I didn't have that option. I had to get up and make breakfast for my family and get everybody ready. So I had to do my cardio at 5, whether I like it or not, right? And I remember putting on really motivational podcasts or really motivational music, or just listening to a motivational speaker while I was doing my jogging in the garage. And then after that, then your day starts, right? Your real day. You get ready, you get your kids ready and your husband, and then off to work. Then you have your work day. Then you come home and you have your family time, and then you still have to do your stuff, right? So I would say number one is know what you're getting into and be organized. Don't go into it thinking, oh, it's just working out. I can work out. It's more than just working out. So much more.
I like that. That's very true. Like the organization of it, and I think if you set your times, you're gonna go, work out, times you're gonna do your cardio, what fits your schedule, the times your meals are. If everything's planned, I mean, you have no reason to fail because you planned it out.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, things are going to come in, and we're always going to have emergencies, or we're always going to have unforeseen events, right? But if you've got your meal with you, it's as easy as putting it in a cooler type of bag and taking it with you. There's also something else that I think that people that want to do this should know, and it's you have to have the mentality of you do what it takes. You do what it takes. Have to eat your meal cold because there's no microwave around. You eat your meal cold. I mean, it's just for that one meal. It's not going to kill you. And one thing that I always keep in mind is feel lucky that you have a meal to eat. There's some people that don't even have a meal to eat. You're doing this for fun. And there's some people out there that are homeless and wish they had a cold meal. And they're not doing it for fun. They just don't have the resources. You're just doing it for fun.
Yeah, and I'm one of those where I see these people, they post on their social media the struggles they're going through, and it's like, and like you said, like, but you chose to do that.
You chose, yeah.
Like don't have somebody get some, be all sad for you, or hey, you chose to do that. man up, do it, and get it over with.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it's nobody's fault. Nobody told you to do it. You decided to do it. But yeah, I've seen that where they're crying and oh, I struggle and this and that. But comes with it. Comes with it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's times when you can break down for sure if it's a mental game, right? So there's times when you get emotional, but you just push through it. And that's part of the sport. And I think that on the other side, you're just going to be a stronger individual. If you can make it to the other side, getting on stage is not actually the win. The win is that you did it.
The journey.
The journey, for sure. And if you can enjoy the journey, getting on stage is just it's the fun part, but it isn't the important part.
Well, I think because you're really on stage, what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's not much.
to a minute and that's it. And then you come back to the night show, you get your presentation, you're done. All right, thank you.
It's not much.
Yeah, so
And really, when you think about it, I mean, I'm a real realist. I say, okay, I'm gonna get a trophy, right? It's made out of plastic, right? People are gonna applaud me. They're gonna say I look better than this other person. What does that really mean? That doesn't mean as much to me as what the work I put into it and the work that I was able to achieve and the look and all the sacrifices. That's my trophy. I feel like the show is just let's go see what other people think of my efforts, but I know I already feel really good about myself. So if you can get to that point where maybe it doesn't kill you to not win the first show or not place, you really just enjoyed the journey for the fact that you were able to accomplish so much, then the sport is right for you. If you feel like you are going into it because you've got to be number one, sometimes that's harder said than done, you know?
well, I think it's because when you go with that mindset, I mean, you want to be competitive. And I think when you go with that mindset sometimes and you don't get it, you lose, like you said, you lost everything you built to get to that point. Like,
Yeah.
You lost it. Like, but there's more to it. I mean, to me, it's like when you see your before and after, that it's a big accomplishment. For
Yes.
some clients that done shows. I mean, that said, look where you started and look where you're at. And not anybody can do it and get on stage. There's another thing too. I think
Yes.
like anybody can do a weight loss in a couple months and they're done. But when you go to what we go through and the preps and the long hours of cardio, the strict dieting, the sacrifices, and then get on stage and you did it. I did it. That should be one of the big accomplishments. Now you said it's a subjective sport, so you got to leave it up to the judges. So you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but if you know what you brought, you improve your physique. That's another thing too. I tell my clients, look, as long as we're beating our physiques prior, that's all we can do sometimes too. Because again, you don't know who shows up, and you don't know how the judges are going to vote. I mean, you don't know.
Right. And we're forgetting also that another major benefit is the health benefit. I mean, the fact that you're healthy, the fact that you're also, in my case, I'm showing my son, I'm showing my husband. If they, see me eat a certain way and they hear me talk a certain way about food, they're learning. So I'm bringing that to the table as well. I'm bringing those lessons to the table. So my son is growing up seeing a mom who's dedicated and who's eating the right way, and so he's able to grow up seeing that instead of other behaviors that are not so healthy, right? So
Sure.
that's all of that is a benefit for sure. I feel that I wouldn't look like I do now, which I feel is relatively a fit look for a 50-year-old had it not been for this bodybuilding, sport, because it keeps me feeling like I don't feel like I'm 50. I mean, I don't. And I feel like I can be competitive still. So all of that. I mean, those are all benefits. And it's more than just a trophy, more than a
I
medal.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, how would you, we didn't do any shout out to anybody? You want to thank anybody? You want any last words you'd like to say?
I mean, it's not just a one person sport for sure. I mean, my coaches have been awesome. So Candace has shown me, first of all, she introduced me to the Federation. So I'm really glad that I met her. She taught me about macros. You taught me another way to eat. So now I have two options. I know both ways. And the fact that I have a trainer that's really knowledgeable, and that's stuck with me for so long, you create friendships with all these people. So these people are your village, and then of course your family, my husband, my son. These are people that are affected by what I do as well. So everybody deserves a shout out, right? I mean, yes, you're doing it, but
You need the support
everybody,
system.
for sure. Yes. Yep. Yes. And even, even my friends who understand, like, we're gonna have a barbecue, but she's gonna bring her own food.
Yeah.
No,
So
no.
it's easier now. Like they've a
Oh,
lot better.
so much easier, so much easier. Now I get the questions about, okay, so if I want to lose weight, what can I do? What can I eat? And it's fun to talk about that stuff for me. And that's also given me a little bit of because I'm a teacher at heart, it's also given me another outlet to teach, right? I can teach people about what the right way to eat, and little things that you think are not bad for you, but they really are. They're adding calories that you didn't even know. So I'm able to kind of give some lessons, and I'm not a trainer, and I'm not a dietitian, but I've been through it
But you
enough
have your
to
experience,
know,
so yes.
yeah, to know what they can do to help them. And just teaching them there's a difference between fat loss and there's a difference between weight loss. You can lose all the weight you want, but some of it is going to be muscle. You've got to make sure that you're intaking enough protein to keep that muscle there. Otherwise, you're just going to be losing it from everywhere. So yeah, so I'm just really been blessed that I have a great group of people that surround me that are knowledgeable and that I can ask questions to and keep learning.
Well, let's see what 2023 brings. Let's see we hit that stage again. That's something we'll be looking out for. So we'll go ahead and cut it on here. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you follow us on Texas Bodybuilding News. If you want some information about coaching, CoachJasonMartinez.com. My team, Team Jack. So make sure you guys subscribe, share this with other friends and family members. So you can come check it out. Maybe get some motivation from what you've heard here. So make sure you guys stay healthy, get that last rep in. So next time, peace. If you guys interested in the great line of supplements, go ahead and check out Jack Factory. Links in description. Use my code Jason. You can save 15%. Let me tell you about the stack I love. I love taking my Nitro Surge and I combine it with the NOXT. Get hell of a pumps, great energy, great workout. Love it. They got your pre-workouts, protein, fat burners, essentials. So go check them out. Use my code Jason, save 15%.